This is the House of Tech, the podcast where politics meets technology. I am Fred Chibesta, co-founder of Finder.
And I'm Senator Andrew Bragg, Senator for New South Wales. And today we're talking about a very important topic, driving technology for better social outcomes.
Amazing stuff. And with us, we have Laura O'Reilly, co-founder and co-CEO of Hireup. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Now, I've heard an incredible story, and I think everyone would love to hear about it, about how you started Hireup. Mm-hmm. Would you be able to share it with everyone?
Sure. So my brother, who is my co-founder, Geordie, and I, we started Hireup directly as a consequence of seeing our brother Shane's experiences as a person with disability who needed support. So Shane, our younger brother, he had cerebral palsy, he had a profound physical disability and a moderate intellectual disability, so he needed support 24/7. And like many families with a person with disability, we relied heavily on support workers. So we had, at the time, agency support workers coming into our house, on a daily basis. And we saw through that experience with Shane, I guess the contrasting experiences of where there was a support worker who, was sort of sent that we didn't know, who didn't have a connection to Shane, who maybe wasn't kind of a good match for him personality-wise, just how kind of tricky that situation could be. And just experiences like, opening the door at 6 a.m, not knowing, who the worker was, 2 minutes, say hello, send them into his room to take his clothes off and, get him ready for the day. Like it's, really, support work is really important to people and personal. And the experience of, not having any control over that is quite profound. Conversely, when it was a worker that Shane was really connected to, same age, same interests, that fireworks could be really amazing and have an amazing impact on quality of his life. So we were sort of seeing all of that sort of, 2009, 10, 11, and the NDIS was also coming. So, significant sort of funding reform of how disability supports work, plus all the technology was kind of emerging. Uber was the big thing. So we really saw an opportunity at about 2015 to say, well, what if we bring together technology, a platform to enable people like Shane with significant disability to be in control of their workers and to make those choices themselves. And that was the start of Hireup.
So how have you found working with the NDIA? Can you talk a little bit about that, some of the good parts, some of the challenges? Because it's a significant investment that the nation is making, and it is going to eclipse Medicare. So it's something that we want to make sure that it is working really well.
Yeah, sure. I think the broad point to say is that the NDIS has been absolutely transformational for the sector and for the lived experience of people with disability.
That's good.
Just taking my brother's experience, we came back to Australia from the UK in sort of the late 2010s, 2008. We were told there was a 6-month wait for a shower chair, so that meant he wasn't having a shower for 6 months. He wanted to move out of home. There was a 15-year wait list. We were told the only option was to abandon him at his day program. He left school. He wanted to do something with his time. At the time, to start with, there were no places for him to go anywhere. There was no options. So the system before the NDIS was really abysmal, and I think maybe it's got a bit lost of how bad it used to be. Ration support, massive waiting lists, and people's needs not being met. The NDIS has fundamentally transformed that by significantly more funding, but the critical thing is putting that funding into the hands of people with disability themselves to drive their own choices, making it into a market dynamic. So I think we should all be profoundly proud of the NDIS and protective of it. Having said that, there are definitely some challenges with the NDIS, and one of the significant ones I think is that Hireup is a registered provider, so we're registered with the NDIS. We comply with all of the sort of the systems and processes and rules that the NDIS lay down to make the market work. But not all providers are doing that. And so there's some disparities that are emerging between registered and unregistered providers. So I think there is maybe some consistency that's needed across the rules, and to make sure that everyone's sort of playing by the same set of rules and abiding by the same set of standards that are ultimately there to protect the community. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's been an amazing journey to be part of the NDIS.
So with technology, what do you think sort of some of the next technology advances for people with disability will be? What are you seeing as interesting, and where are you seeing sort of change?
It's a really interesting question, and there's definitely interesting disability-specific innovations that are happening. An example might be sort of armour suits that people are able to wear who are not able to walk, who with the support of sort of, that sort of wrap around, those new systems that are emerging, people are able to stand up and move in completely different ways. So there's individual things like that are happening that are exciting. I think also the evolution we're seeing in driverless cars is really exciting for people with disability. Transport is a massive issue, and if people are able to sort of have a vehicle and use it without needing to drive it, like that sort of is quite profound in what that could mean for people with mobility challenges. I think, however, the more exciting thing that I think is happening is that technology companies are thinking about accessibility, and I think the future actually is not sort of bespoke technology emerging only for people with disability, but rather using the innate potential of technology to make the whole world more accessible. And so we're seeing, with organisations like Apple and a number of big tech players are thinking a lot about accessibility and how they can use their tools, design their tools to be accessible for everybody. And I think that's the real revolution that's coming that we're seeing.
And how are you working with the big tech companies? I mean, have you found them easy to deal with? Are they a core part of your business offering?
I don't think in a core way. I mean, we certainly intersect with lots of the big tech companies.
Yeah.
We use a big stack of different tech that we use.
Yeah.
We have an app, etc. So you're always interacting with the different sort of kind of outlets for technology. But we're building our platform. We've got an amazing.
You built
team.
your platform in Australia, or
yes?
Yeah.
So we're based over in North Sydney, and
Yep.
we've got a big team over there who are building our platform. Constantly kind of investing into it, making it better, making it as accessible as it can be.
We kind of glossed over this at the start, but basically, your clients, do you call them clients? Or
Yes, clients.
So if I was a client of yours, I can basically select what I need on an app?
Yeah, exactly. So if you were a client of the traditional disability sector, what would happen is that you would speak to an agency, you'd tell them what I need, care in the morning. They would then roster someone, they would decide and send you someone. So you would not, you'd know that someone was coming, but you wouldn't be sure who, what time, because that worker's often in a queue of people that they're working with, and that person could change day to day. With Hireup, the difference is you register on our platform as a client, support workers do the same. Once you're approved, and we do a whole bunch of kind of checks to keep the community safe, but once people are approved, the person with disability and the support worker can find each other. So there's search tools, job posting tools, etc. So that you as the person with disability can say, I want that person, and have that kind of relationship and interaction directly, which is ultimately about putting choice and control into your hands of who's supporting you and when.
And are your staff employees, or are they contractors, or both?
Our staff are all employees, and that's a really...
Are they part-time or full-time?
Casual employees.
Casual employees.
Casual, and then we have a program to enable people to take on part-time or full-time as well, so people can transition. But the majority of people are casual, and the kind of flexible nature of the platform works well for our cohort. That's a really important
Do you
decision.
call this gig work in a sense?
No, we don't consider it to be gig work at all. And look, lots of the traditionals, casualisation is right across the disability sector, because again, it's sort of flexible work, which is a challenge that we're trying to address as a sector. But no, absolutely not. The fundamental nature of support work is long-term relationships, and relationships that need to build over time. You're not jumping into an Uber and getting out a few streets later, and it doesn't really matter who dropped you off. People with disability have very specific support needs. They need the right person, and then often those turn into long-term relationships that build up. So by its very nature, we don't believe that this kind of work is contractor work. It is employment, and we took the decision at the very beginning of this journey that we would take as the provider, we would take full responsibility for our workers, for their training, for what happens if they get injured. We take an all care, all responsibility approach. And the reason we do that is because I think if we look after our workers, they'll look after, our clients to the best of their ability, which is what we believe in.
We talked to Anthony Eisen from Afterpay about being a very mission-driven company. Would you consider Hireup to be a mission-driven company?
Absolutely, 100%.
What is your mission?
Our mission is to support the pursuit of a good life for everybody. So to support each person with disability to pursue the good life for them. And we think that the fundamental building block to enable anyone to pursue the good life for them is choice and control. The ability to, as I talked about before, choosing the right workers that suit you and help you to kind of pursue that good life. So that's our mission. We've taken, and what we do is we are a naturally impact company. So the work that we do and the way that we generate revenue are, one and are impactful and are one and the same. A lot of impact organisations, they do a commercial trade and then they direct profits to a social outcome. For us, the social outcome and the commercial outcome are exactly the same. So we are sort of, we're in it's a rare category of business that is a genuine impact business. But additional to that, we've also taken a whole series of choices to make sure that we're doing as much good in the community as we can, including the employment model.
I think, just from my experience, Finder is a very mission-oriented company as well. You're helping people make better decisions, financial decisions, obviously, help their life. But I think there's this sort of, I want to sort of unpack some things. I think there's this sort of dialogue around mission-driven companies versus, ones that are not, and their ability to grow. Can you sort of talk us about some of the stories of that growth and how it's actually been possible given that you have such a strong mission?
Yeah, so Hireup, we've been really fortunate to have sort of hyper growth, particularly in sort of the first few years after we started. We won a number of awards for. We were one of the fastest growing tech companies in Australia, I think 2018. So we've seen really enormous growth, which has been terrific. The thing with, again, going back to I suppose, pure impact companies versus companies that choose to be led by mission. The cool thing about Hireup is that the social good that we do, connecting people with disability, is what drives, our growth. And so if for us it's been quite simple that if you stay laser focused on what is in the best interests of our clients, they use the platform more, we grow faster, etc. So it's a really virtuous cycle. I think that's a little bit different to organisations that maybe have more of a sort of a more kind of commercial in what they fundamentally do, but then choose to do it in a way that is socially impactful and positive for the world. And there's a number of I guess occasions where you doing the right thing can maybe slow down some of your commercial growth. And we have examples of that at Hireup too. For example, sometimes we decide to make technology, prioritization decisions to focus more on safety than growth, as an example. So there are tensions there with us as well. I think we just are, we're extremely clear on what we're doing this for. We're doing it to create a better world for people with disability. And so I find that if you, as co-CEO, and I know the board take this view, that if you are led by what's in the best interest of our clients, you ultimately make decisions that are right for the community, which may lead in the short term to a slowing of growth, but over the long term, absolutely, we've found drive hyper growth, which has been great.
And would you be in the minority in terms of the providers to the NDIS that you're using so much technology to deliver services?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So the sort of traditional disability sector, the sector that was kind of well established before the NDIS and makes up the majority of the sector. These are often organisations which have been around, for long periods of time, that have not been, they're sort of not digitally native.
Right.
They're organisations that, and some of them, date back to the 40s or even before that. So there has definitely been a challenge, I think, for traditional providers to weave technology into their systems and processes. And additional to that, there is definitely a lack of good technology for the disability service sector. There isn't, for example, a standout CRM system that has sort of taken the market. There's a number of systems, but maybe issues with all of them. So I think there's still a long way to go for the disability sector itself to embed technology into the heart of what we do, but also for the surrounding kind of tech ecosystem to create the tools that would enable providers to do that. Hireup's quite different, where we are absolutely built on a technology platform.
Here in Sydney?
Yeah, here in Sydney.
It's good to hear.
Yeah. So it's given us an advantage in that sense for sure.
You recently raised $40 million with Seek. Tell us about that and what did they what sort of, what did they see in your business, and how did you sort of, I guess, align on those, again, that mission orientatedness and that commercial side?
Yeah. So the first couple of funding rounds that we did was all impact investment rounds. So working with not-for-profits, with foundations like the Maya Foundation, family offices, people who were investing into the business because they saw social impact and commercial returns in equal balance. So that was the funding that really kind of got us through the first few years. Moving to, I guess, up a significant level with the funding raise with Seek, that was very much driven by, the business had laid down the key foundations that were needed to be laid in the prior years, and we were just ready to grow. So the partnership with Seek is really about investing in our technology, in our people here in Australia who are building our technology, in our sort of service delivery models to grow Hireup across Australia, and our goal is to get to 25,000 people with disability by 2025. In terms of why Seek, we were really looking for a values-aligned investor. We wanted an investor with long horizons and a sort of a long-term mindset, because this is for us is about changing the world, and that's a long-term mission. But also, we found in Seek real sort of, bedfellows around our belief in the importance of the employment model, and Seek very much invest into technology platforms that harness, employment, or are about facilitating and supporting employment. And so we really were aligned from a values perspective there. And they also have a really strong understanding of the NDIS in our market. So for all those reasons, they were an amazing strategic partner for us.
Yeah, Andrew Bassett's a good guy.
He sure is.
Yeah. And impact investing, I mean, that's been one of the trickiest things to solve. I mean, I know that there's been many reviews at a government level into how that can be better facilitated, because my understanding is that we are on the lower end of the scale. But it sounds like you've had a very positive experience with it.
Yeah, so we were fortunate to be one of the first sort of big impact investment sort of success stories, I guess you could say, in Australia.
But that happened without government intervention, right? I mean, you match made with Hire and Co.
Yes.
That's good.
So we work with an Melbourne-based organisation called Impact Generation Partners. The team there, Quinton and Amanda, they very plugged into the sort of philanthropic world and just true believers in the power of impact investing. And I think having seen it in places like Israel and Europe and seeing what it could do, so they really helped us to make that a success.
And you had a pitch to them?
Yeah. So we developed it. Developed a deck, and we went on a roadshow, and we pitched to. But again, targeting foundations, trusts, philanthropists, with this story of significant. The business offered commercial prospects that was equivalent to any other sort of investment, but also significant social impact, and those two things being in balance. So we've been really proud to sort of. I guess have that for that round to be successful, and then to go on to sort of have hyper growth after that, to sort of show that this type of investment is absolutely possible.
Good.
So in terms of this year, Dylan Alcott being Australian of the Year, 2022, how has that sort of impacted the disability sector, and what does that mean for your business?
Yeah, I was so emotional watching that event, and his speech was extremely powerful. And I think having someone with a visible disability on that stage in the national spotlight like that is, profoundly important for our sector. But what caused me the most emotion on the night was seeing the way that my news feed on my socials just absolutely lit up with the voices of people with disability themselves, all the people that I spend my life with, the pride that the community took in Dylan being on that stage, and the confidence boost that I think even just him winning the award in his speech, the confidence boost and it's just that thing, you can't be what you can't see. And so for our community to see someone with a visible disability at that level of accomplishment, it meant an enormous amount to the community, and that was really powerful. But then I think he's only just begun using his year, and I know employment is a big target area for him, and he's doing huge things to cast a light on the fact that people with disability experience unemployment at unacceptable rates in our society. So I think he's got, if he can move the dial on that issue, that will be a year very well spent.
Well, I think he will. I think he will provoke more conversations about these issues than we have had in the past probably 10 years. So I'm sure he'll use his platform well. Now, we have to ask you a couple of silly questions, otherwise it wouldn't be,
Sure.
a fun podcast, would it? I mean, this guy is very serious,
I'm a bit
very serious
serious
person. So we've had a couple of people who've now taken up this offer, but we're considering sending people to space. So would you go?
Sure.
Okay, you would go.
Absolutely.
Why?
But do you get to come back? I think that's
Well, I don't know. That's unclear.
One way.
It's a one-way ticket.
one way.
Well, it could be a return. On the Russian one, you only get one way.
Well, Sputnik.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be like that one in Itchy and Scratchy when they go up to the moon and then their eyes explode and stuff,
It's probably that one.
Do your eyes have to explode? Is that optional? I would, if it was
Working on
return and there's no eye explosion, I would 100% go. I'd love to go to space.
Why?
Well, because I think it's an ultimate frontier, isn't it? And also to feel weightlessness. I'd love to feel that. I don't think I'd want to go one way, and I don't think I'd want to go for a long period of time because I think it has enormous, impacts on your body, and I probably wouldn't be strong enough. But I'd love to experience it. And so few humans have ever got to do it.
There's also very limited cuisine options up there. I mean, who wants to eat those spacesuit things? I mean,
Right.
I like space sticks.
Yeah, but you want to have different tucker than that. I mean, geez.
Sure.
I'd be concerned to spill it, and then it all.
Let's talk about Tucker for a second. We've got a question. In America, there's this thing called home fries. We're trying to figure out what this is. Do you know what home fries are?
No.
And we get the same.
No, we're
No idea.
struggling on this question. Yeah. We think it's potato.
Potatoes.
Does Google not know?
Something.
Well, it does know, but we'd like to see whether people
Right.
had to endure the experience of being offered home fries.
Yeah,
Surely it's just super, super fried potato.
could be
Yeah.
one of those things.
But why call it home?
Yeah.
Is it like homemade?
Maybe they got the one-way ticket on the space flight.
Yeah. Like in the vacuum sealed bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be
I want
cold.
to send the fries back.
You don't want to have cold chips.
No, you don't.
But if you call them chips in America, they look at you like you're a weirdo anyway.
That's true. Laura, what's coming up? What's new, and what should people look out for?
In the sense of the disability sector or Hireup?
And what you're doing, and
So we are working really hard at the moment on opening Hireup in each of the major cities. So we're targeting Melbourne at the moment. So opening down there. So for the community with disability in Melbourne, we're opening a new hub, and we're starting to move into sort of the technology supported frontline services. So the ability for people to engage with us more deeply. Historically, we've been sort of focused mostly on the platform side of what we do, but we're starting to introduce other layers of engaging with the community, so that's really exciting. But yeah, just our focus right now is growth, and like I said, getting to 25,000 active users by 2025 is the target.
amazing.
Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today. From my point of view, it was really good to hear about a business which has been able to succeed with some of that impact investing behind it, because I think it's a really great example for us to talk about. And I know that there is a genuine interest from a government perspective on trying to ensure that more impact investing can be facilitated. So we've really appreciated hearing your story and all you do for the community.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think I really think the other thing that's important for everyone is, a mission-oriented business can grow and hyper grow as well, and can work and get not only impact investment but also outside other investment as well. I think it's all very possible, and I think it's really inspiring.
Yeah, I agree.
What you've done.
Yeah, I personally think impact businesses are the way of the future. If a consumer can engage a service and know that it's contributing positively to the world, why wouldn't you, right? So I think the future is definitely social for sure.
Amazing.
Well, thanks for... why am I thanking you? I don't know.
Thank
Thank
me if
you.
you want, but-
Thank you, Laura. But
Thank you for having me. I
but
appreciate it.
it's good to chat, and we look forward to staying in touch. Yeah.
And as always, if you are listening to this on wherever you do listen to podcasts, do subscribe and do send us a like, write a review if you can. Laura's amazing. Andrew's getting better.
Yeah,
I'm on
trying.
the way as well. And share it with a friend. Friends share to other friends great things, and hopefully that's how podcasts get around these days. So that's us, and we'll see you guys again.